maybe the one of you that has never heard the name or doesn't know Chris Heller. Chris Heller was previous KW CEO, chief officer at Ojo Labs. He built one of the top producing teams in the United States, best-selling author, chief officer for Lower Mortgage. And now I'm excited to announce he's with eXp Realty. So Chris, welcome this morning. How you doing?
I'm good. So it was a quiet move that hasn't been announced, so but it will be announced soon.
Okay, we're on the
Other than
inside
other
track.
than other than the announcement that was just made.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so doing
Okay.
great. Excited to be here.
Well, Chris, maybe you could just share a little bit more about yourself and let's jump into our topic today. I see you all over social giving essential tips for success in real estate today. So, Chris, turn it over to you.
Yeah. As Tom said, I've been doing this a long time. I got my license in 1983. So that means I'm really old, and but still got the fire in the belly. Still have a team in San Diego. I stopped running that team in 2010 when I left San Diego, but they're still there, still selling houses, still battling. The Been involved with a variety of companies and leading and building companies, and that's what I like to do. The market we're in is a interesting market. It's a freaking challenging market. That's no two ways about it. And yet there's still, as there always is, plenty of people buying and selling homes. And I think the challenge though is agents and teams are having a harder time getting the amount of business they normally get. And there's reasons why, and I think there's things that we can do to talk about that. Um, so that's a little bit about background on myself. We can take this in whatever direction you want. I can share my thoughts on what it takes to be successful right now, but also happy to answer any and every question that someone might
Well,
have that's
yes and
making up.
yes. Let's start with your thoughts on what it takes to be successful, and then after we'll go ahead and open it up for questions, and there may be a few in between. So,
Yeah, and
thank you.
Chris, I would say, and you touched on it a little bit, but if you could particularly focus on something an opportunity that might be uniquely available in this market because of the given circumstances.
Yeah. Let me just make a note of it so I don't forget to do that. I will do that, Don. So just sort of to level set, so everyone, I don't want to say understands. I think you guys and gals all understand, but there's fewer opportunities right now, and there's fewer opportunities for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's just fewer transactions happening. Right, we're still at 4 million or sub 4 million for the year, which is down from significantly from where it was in the crazy frenzied pandemic market, but even down from what we usually experience in this country. On top of that, there's an evolution happening that's also impacting the opportunities, and that evolution is that there's probably a better analogy for this, but this is the one that's popped into my head. If you think of buyers and sellers as raindrops that are falling down, as agents, we used to be able to catch as many of those as we could. Like the bigger our bucket, the more of them we could catch. There's fewer raindrops falling down because they're being caught by buckets above us, right? By Zillow, by Rocket, by the company I'm with, by Movoto and Lower Mortgage, Rocket and Redfin, Zillow Home Loans, and those raindrops are being caught by those platforms are still transactions, and we still have access to them, but we have to do things to get access to them, right? We have to join a network. We have to be willing to pay for a referral fee for those and everything else. So the point I'm making is there's fewer opportunities. So then the question becomes, and I think, Don, this is where you're going, is, well, if there's fewer opportunities, then how do we grow? And what are the opportunities we need to take advantage of, given that there's fewer? So just by show of hands, how many of you own a team or are on a team? Okay, so a few of you, rest of you solo agents. Um, the uh, the name of the game is to get is always, but it's like amplified now, and that is to build relationships with consumers and then deepen the ones we have. Just because we had a relationship with someone, just because we sold their house 6 years ago, just because someone's in our database, doesn't mean really doesn't mean anything, right? That's not like money in the bank. Now, it used to be more like money in the bank, but it's not anymore because that person and that person in our database is being inundated with offers everywhere they turn, from their insurance company, from their mortgage company, from their, you name it, and from companies that are offering them different ways of buying and selling. So we have to make sure that we are deepening those relationships. And how do you deepen a relationship with someone, right? Like how do you deepen a relationship with a friend, right? You do something that's of value to them, right? You bring value to the relationship. So how do we bring value to relationships with consumers? Um, it's not the monthly newsletter. It's not, hey, I'm checking in, seeing who might know that's looking to buy or sell. That's not bringing any value. But so what are things of value? As a consumer, letting me know about things that I couldn't find out from ChatGPT or from Google, things that are hyper locals, things that are happening in my neighborhood, things that are happening in my market, letting me know about opportunities of being able to buy and sell real estate that might not be traditionally what I would think of as a consumer, right? Traditionally, I think, okay, if I got to buy, I got to figure out how to sell my house first, and then I got to figure out who I'm going to list it with and what I need to fix up. And like that's the traditional way of doing things. Now there's so many programs out there. There's buy before you sell programs. There's cash offers. There's sell before you list programs. You name it. And as agents, we need to be aware of all those, and we need to be the ones delivering those options to our clients. Right? We need to be the 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 one communicating, hey, there's other ways of doing things than you may know about, or there's other ways of doing the thing you want to do that might be better for you than the traditional way of doing it. So, are we educating ourselves on the platforms out there, on the HomeWords and the Home Lights and all the different companies that can offer solutions other than just the traditional buy and sell. I don't even with my team, I've tried to get them to go away from calling it listing appointments. Let's talk about opportunity appointments. We're going to share different opportunities with the clients, right? We're going to share with them how they could buy something without selling their home first. We're going to share with them how they could sell their home without listing it, having to put it on the market, via cash offers. We're going to share with them how we can improve to move their home, where we can, put up the money to fix it up so that they can get top dollar for it when they don't have the money themselves to do that, and benefit from that. Those are the things that are of value. So let me pause there for a second. Any questions on anything I just said? Any confusion or?
Well, I just really like the fact that you brought up the hyper local market, and also everyone has access to Chat GPT, and a lot of our clients are looking these things up. So we really need to differentiate ourselves and share with them the trends, share with them what's happening, and then also skate to where the puck is going to be, right? They don't have that information, so we can share that as well.
Yeah, and the other thing too that happens, when we look at the people that are being most successful right now, it's pretty obvious what they're doing, and you may not like what I'm going to share, but it's the reality, and that is that they have cranked up their intensity and they've cranked up the urgency by which they're doing things. If there was ever a time when we needed to turn up our intensity and turn up the urgency, I love that Dodgers jersey. I'm a huge Dodgers fan. Patrick, like your Dodgers jersey there. The intensity and the urgency by which you do things. So what does that mean exactly? So intensity, am I present to my schedule? Am I present doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing at the time I'm supposed to be doing it? Am I focused on it? Or am I distracting myself? Am I screwing around on social media, or, not being purposeful about how I'm spending my time or how I'm spending my day? Being really, really intently focused. When I was prospecting every day, during the time I was prospecting, during the time I was lead follow-up, it would have taken a SEAL team to get to me, to interrupt me. Right? I created structures to where there were no no interruptions were going to happen, even from my own family. Like, it was like that was the most important thing that needed to happen every day. Do we operate that way? Do we even think that way now? Urgency. If I said, what day of the week? This is Wednesday. If I said, hey, great news, on Monday, all of us are going on a 2-week, all expense paid trip to Italy, and it's free and it's paid. All you got to do is show up at the airport, first class, the whole thing. What would your life look like between now and Monday? Right? If you knew you were leaving for 2 weeks, what would your life look like between now and Monday? I know what it would look like. It would probably be the most productive time that you've had all this year, right? Because you would know, hey, I got till friggin' Sunday night to get everything in order. I got to make sure every lead is followed up with, every seller is communicated with, every prospect is set up, like everything would have to be in order, and you'd get it done, right? Because you've gone on vacations before, and you know what it's like the week before, or the 3 days before. You are hyper focused, and you're operating with a high sense of urgency. What does it take for us to operate that way all the time? In 2007, I got divorced. My wife didn't want to be married to me anymore, and my life changed dramatically. I went from working a lot to only being able to work 4 days a week one week and 3 days a week the next week, because I had 4 kids and we were sharing that. That year, I didn't sell any fewer homes. That year, I sold just as many homes, actually just slightly more homes than I did the year before. Now, what did change was how I operated. Right? When you're working a 4-day week and you don't have the option to push anything into the 5th day, the 6th day, or the 7th day, you are freaking hyper focused and hyper productive. So every week for me was like that week before I was going on vacation. So what I see the top agents doing now is they're operating that way. They're operating with that sense of urgency and with a high level of intensity, where they are really focused, where they are really intentional about their activities. Now, none of that probably sounds like fun, and none of that sounds easy, but like they call it work for a reason, right? It's work. And what's our option? And that's a powerful question that I want you guys, if you don't remember anything else, just remember that question. What's your option? Right? Your option to go get a job? Your option to be broke? Your option is to be stressed? Your option is to be mad? I don't know about you, but none of those sound like good options to me. We know what to do and we know how to do it. Now it's just a matter of saying, okay, the time's now. I'm going to do what it takes. So anyways, I'm sorry. That was a long rambling response to an easy comment or question. But
I want to go back to a comment you made earlier, which is sharing with your team to think about an appointment as an opportunity appointment as opposed to a listing appointment. And to me, that's like saying the difference between a listing appointment is like a transactional mindset, and an opportunity appointment is a relational mindset. And I think that's what you're wanting us to adopt. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Don, I wouldn't limit it to a listing appointment. For those who don't know, we own Movoto.com. Movoto.com is the 5th largest portal, and 70 million unique visitors a year that go to it. And we run a business very similar to Realtor and Zillow and every other portal. We introduce a lot of consumers to agents. And the way we introduce them is we have the consumer on the phone. We find out if connecting to an agent makes sense. If it does, then we say, great, would you like to be connected to a top agent or team that could help you with that property that you want to see? They say yes. We send out a text notification to the agent, says there's a live Movoto consumer on the phone. When they click on the link, it opens up the property that the consumer inquired about. Now, here's what's interesting. As far as I know, none of our agents are psychic, but they act like they are. And they act like they are because they'll see the property and they'll go, oh, that's 40 minutes away. Oh, I don't like that price point. Oh, they probably won't be able to qualify. And they don't accept that lead. And then we watch what happens. And we watch what happens with that consumer. And that consumer that inquired about a $110,000 piece of dirt buys a $700,000 house 90 days later, right? That consumer that clicked on a $220,000 condo 45 minutes away buys a $500,000 house 10 minutes away, right? And so whether it's an online lead, whether it's someone you meet at an open house, whether it's a listing appointment, whether it's someone you talk to at your kid's soccer game this weekend, everyone we meet is an opportunity. We never know who they work with, who they live next to, who they're related to, that is a buyer or seller. I remember years ago, I remember this so vividly. It was on Mother's Day. I was at my wife and I think I had one or two kids at the time, were at my parents' house, and I get a call from I think the gongs are getting, I don't know if you guys could hear that, but it was windy last night. My wife took down these big gongs we had outside, and now she's putting them back up, but she's gonging the crap out of them. I think Zoom blocks out the background noise. That's super loud here. I got this call, and it was from a client. Like, I had sold them like a $200,000 house, and they said, "Hey, and in the house I sold them, and the client, there was a lot of agents probably wouldn't have given them the time of day, but I was young and hungry, and I was giving everyone the time of day." And they were at brunch with their parents who were down visiting, and they drove by a new listing I had. It was the most expensive house I'd ever listed. And make a long story short, their parents bought that house. And it was because I worked with this first-time buyer that bought, in an area that wasn't as a desirable area as most others. But I just treated everything as an opportunity. And when we're new, that's really easy to do, right? Because we're hungry and we don't know any better. Unfortunately, sometimes we get in the business for a while and we start to get complacent. We start to get picky. We start to think we can judge, who's going to do what and who's going to buy what and who can qualify for what and who's worth our time. And we miss tons of opportunities. I can tell you, with the agents and teams to work with, I see how many opportunities they miss. And I know if it's happening to them, it's happening to you. So, treat everyone you meet as an opportunity, because you never know what it can lead to.
Chris, great to see you. It's been a while. And question for you, what are you seeing as, for those of us who were in the recession in production, what are you seeing as some similarities with the market we're in now? Obviously not subprime. Where are you seeing some of those trends pop back up again?
Yeah, a really good question. Yeah, I've been through a lot of cycles, right? And cycles happen for different reasons, right? There's the banking crisis. There's what's going on now. There's been other reasons for other cycles, but there's certain things we see that pretty much happen in all of them, right? There's always certain, regardless of what's going on, there are people buying and selling homes, right? And it could be like the day before the end of the world, and people are going to be buying and selling homes. There's just always some of that happening. But what happens mostly is that the level of education that we need to provide to be effective and help our clients to be effective increases a lot. If you think back just a few years, 2021, 2022, did we have to really educate on anything? It's like, if you're talking to a seller It's like, hey, Mr. Seller, I just need to prepare you. Your house is going to sell for more than you ever imagined and faster than you could ever dream. So, and it doesn't matter what price you're going to put on it because it's going to sell for over that price, right? Like, tough conversation, right? Now, on the other side, for buyers, we did have to educate, say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I don't want you to pay attention to the asking price of that house because it's going to sell for significantly more than that. What we're going to focus on is what the very best you can do, and we're going to give it your very best shot. And if it works, congratulations, mission accomplished. And if it doesn't work, you'll go to bed tonight knowing you gave it everything you have. You didn't leave anything out there, and there's nothing that you could have done more. So now we're in a different market where almost the opposite of that's happening. So how we educate and the type of conversations we need to have change. And so for agents that have been through this before, that's very intuitive and very natural. For agents that haven't, they struggle because they're like, wait a minute, what I was saying and doing is no longer working. And so, the level of education of what we need to be saying and doing, and the conversation we need to be having are different. The level of expectations, the type of expectations we set, are just different now than they were. So that's one of the things, Patrick, I think is unique to every cycle, whether it's an up cycle or a down cycle. That the level of education we need to be able to provide, the type of conversations we need to have changes. There are some things now with what's going on that, I always say it doesn't really matter what's happening as long as you know what's happening, right? It doesn't matter if the rules of the game get changed as long as you know what the rules are, right? Because then you can adapt to them. And as agents and as an industry, we are really good at that. This is being recorded. I'm not going to say the analogy I was going to say, but we are very adaptable. I was thinking of a little insect that comes out when the lights are off, but we are, we are hard to kill, right? Because we adapt to things. And so, but we have to be aware of what's going on so we know what to adapt to. And here's the other thing, and this is just a mindset thing. We have to be in the mindset to be able to do the things I'm talking about. If we're in the mindset of being fearful, being depressed, being angry, being worried, you are doing something that you're not aware you're doing. And that is you're putting these filters over your eyes that prevent you from seeing opportunities. They prevent you from taking the actions you need to take, of being able to go in the day and through the day with the clarity you need to be at an optimal level and to be able to achieve, like an athlete. And so having the mindset is probably the most important thing, and probably the biggest thing that would be helpful for all of us is like, okay, what are we doing every day to work on our mindset, right? Because, and I'll just share some thoughts and ideas. In fact, I just moved my computer over to the site for this call, and I forgot I have this book here. This is I didn't see this. Now I got my freaking okay. Anyways, I'm holding the book up. It's called Dominant Thoughts, and I wrote it. I'm not holding it up so you go buy that book, but that book is just the lessons I've learned, and each chapter goes about one of those lessons. It's in the form of a parable, like it's a story about a mentor and mentee, but it's really all about mindset. And what do we do every day to work on our mindset? So here's some suggestions I'm going to give you guys. And this still goes to the answer to your question, Patrick. The default sort of vibe that we all live in is negative, right? If we don't do anything, if we turn on the news, if we read the news, if we listen to the news, it's going to be a lot more negative than positive, right? Like, remember in the old days when you used to watch a half hour of news at night? It was 30 minutes long. There'd be 20 minutes of like sensational headline, bad news stuff. There'd be sports, weather, and then they'd always end on a feel-good story, right? The cat that got rescued or whatever. But why was it 20 minutes of negative stuff? Because that's what people want to hear about. When you have conversations, that's the thing at the water cooler. People are like, oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? It's just the negative stuff. That's the current that's out there. So what are we doing to shield ourselves from that? What are we doing to limit it? I always operate with the sort of the preconceived notion that there's a finite amount of space in here, and I'm going to fill it with as much positive as possible. And at the same time, I'm going to limit as much negative as possible. So that's who I spend time with, who I talk to, what I watch, what I listen to, what I read. So I'm not just shielding the negative and not paying attention to that. Like, I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news and wherever. And if I walk in and, someone's watching it, I gotta leave. I don't even want to hear that. But at the same time, I need to replace that with something positive too, right? So, taking specific actions to shield the negative, increase the positive. Thinking every day about our attitude. What's our attitude? What's our approach? What are our expectations? Are we coming to a meeting like this saying, another one of these meetings, or are we coming to this like, hey, today I'm going to hear the thing that's going to change the trajectory, I can't talk, the path that I'm on, right? Are we expecting that? Or are we expecting that we're making a call to a client? We're expecting that no one's going to answer. We're expecting that they're going to be angry. We're expecting that they're going to be disappointed. We're expecting they're going to yell at me. Or we're expecting that, hey, this is the person that has 3 homes to sell, and I'm calling them at the perfect time, right? Trust me, it changes your attitude when you change your expectations. And it also changes the outcome. You go into a conversation expecting it's going to go bad, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're either going to bring it to the party or it's going to show up. And then our approach. Are we preparing ourselves at the highest possible level? Are we working on our skills on a daily basis? If we're having fewer opportunities, doesn't that mean we have to be able to take advantage of them at a higher level, right? If you're getting 10 opportunities before and you got 2 of them, all right, you got 2 out of 10. If you're only getting 2 opportunities now, you may not get any of them. So your skills better be going up. So another thing that we see top agents doing is they're really focusing on their skills. It's the reason why in January I met these 2 kids. They were 21, now they're 22 years old. They're in college. And I know their dad. I know one of their dads, and he had a product, and he interviewed me, and we did this objection handling video last year. These kids saw it. These kids created a product for role playing for real estate agents. They don't know anything about real estate. All they did is they saw me on video handling objections. Well, I met them in January, February, and they said, hey, we created this product and want to see what you think about it. And it's like, all right, well, that sounds very familiar. And to make a long story short, I'm now helping them with this. And they created a product that just the week before last, they launched it with all the calls. It's called salesgo.ai. And all it is a simple role play tool. Now, here's the funny thing. Every agent knows that they could get better if they practice and role played. But how many do that? I'm not even going to ask you to raise your hands because I know no one's going to raise their hands. But as an agent, I did that every day. Every day I worked, I practiced and role played because I knew that's how you get better. The all-star game was last night. You don't become an all-star. You don't become a professional without practicing every day, right? You don't become a professional and say, oh, now I'm a professional. I don't need to take batting practice. No, baseball players take batting practice every day. They don't go, oh, there's a game tonight. I'm going to get 3 or 4 at bats tonight, so I don't need to take batting practice. That's like practicing on our clients. So practicing and role playing or working on our skills builds confidence. And when you're confident, it's easier to have a better attitude and to do better. I'm getting text messages and I see we're over time and I'm supposed to be in another meeting. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was, you got one thing that's useful. It was fun for me to share. I could keep going for like hours and maybe we'll do this again if you want.
I
Yeah, well,
really
thank you,
appreciate
Chris.
your time here, Chris. Real quick question, if you don't mind. Where's the puck going to be? Like Wayne Gretzky, skate to where the puck is going to be. Where's it going to be?
That's such a broad question. And depends on from what angle we're looking at is, but people are gonna be buying and selling, and all the things I said are happening. It's gonna be challenging and more challenging. There's fewer opportunities. So the agents that understand that are going to be fine because they're going to take the actions and do the things they need to, and the ones that don't are going to, watch things diminish. And so hopefully all of you are in that first category.
Awesome. Chris, if someone wants to reach out, how do they get a hold of you?
You can hit me up on social media, or my email is cheller at which one should you use? Just cheller at ojo.com, ojo.com. That's easy.
Thanks so much, Chris. I know you got to bounce.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Good seeing you.
Thanks, everyone. Now y'all got your inspiration. Time to put in the perspiration. We'll see you next week. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, do you guys, hey, Tom, before we wrap up, we have such a nice group. Do you guys want to do one or two takeaways from the conversation?
That's a great idea.
I really liked what he said about, instead of calling it a buyer appointment, a listing appointment, making an opportunity appointment. I thought that was a great mindset to have. I wish we had more time because I wanted to ask him, because this guy, by the way, we go way back to the Keller Williams days, and he's very legendary for his discipline. Like when he was saying it would take a SEAL team to get in and disrupt him from his prospecting time, there's a lot of truth in that. He's really legit. And I wanted to find out, was there ever a time when you were a mere mortal like the rest of us? Like what was the trigger? And Tom, you probably are the best example of a disciplined prospector in our organization. What is it? What do you think about that causes you to show up day in, day out like you do?
Well, a lot of it goes to exactly what Chris was talking about, and learning and growing from others on your mindset. It's a mindset thing. And so, for example, Jesse Itzler has just an amazing mindset. I don't know if, I'm sure all of you know Jesse Itzler. I mean, he like extreme, ultra marathon athlete, but also a billionaire from so many other but one of the things that he shared at EXPCon, go to events, by the way, he shared, remember tomorrow. He said, how will you feel about this decision that you have to make? How will you feel tomorrow? Remember tomorrow. So, my goal every day is to have 2 hours of lead generation and lead follow-up. And I have an accountability group every day, 5 days a week. How will I feel tomorrow if I don't do it? How will you feel tomorrow if you make unhealthy choices, or if you go out and drink and party tonight? How will you feel tomorrow? I was on the death ride, which was a very, very grueling ride, 10,000 feet of climbing on a road bike, 75 miles, 8 hours in the saddle, guys. And at the very end of the event, I was climbing up Ebbets, and it started freaking hailing. And I had 2 miles to go. And I thought about quitting. I mean, just for a fleet second. But then I asked, how will I feel tomorrow if I quit? How will I feel tomorrow if I don't quit? And so it's kind of a mindset. Great question.
Yeah, love it. Jackie, and then Randy.
Yeah. So one of the habits I've gotten into, and I love this conversation because, I typically journal at the end of the day, and also like business journal and business journal in the morning. I thought of a great, quick question is, what opportunities today did I take, and what opportunities did I pass on? I guess just to heighten our awareness on the opportunities that we have. And I love that mindset switch of, opportunity appointments. And there's a lot, like I'm thinking about yesterday, I can celebrate. There's a couple ahas, just by asking that question that, what question could I ask myself so that I take that opportunity tomorrow?
Yeah, love it. Randy, how about you?
Thank you. There's so many takeaways. I loved when he said the SEAL team because I could picture that, and I remember that about Chris Heller. And honestly, Tom Daves was my idol back in the prospecting days of Keller Williams when I was a team leader, and he was number one in the world. And I remember I probably couldn't do this today. I'd be arrested for streaking or something. But I gave my assistant my pants, and I had 2 hours to go recruit into my office, and I was like, I just couldn't do it. I was finding distractions and stuff, and I don't remember who it was that recommended it. It might have been Rich Rector at the time, which was my coach. But he goes, take your darn pants off and give them to your assistant through the door. And then, when you're done, she'll give them back to you. You cannot leave. And I did that for like a month, and it retrained me that the importance of being in there. And it just, when I thought of something, I couldn't leave, right? And like I said, I'd probably be thrown in jail today doing it. But it worked, and it was extreme. And it was something that I remember to this day. And I still talk about that when people say, I just cannot do it. It's like, find a way. And Chris, when he said that, I already posted on Instagram. That's just such a great statement. A SEAL team couldn't drag me off of my prospecting time. And if we treated our life like that, like for me, the last thing I'll say is I have accountability through my Zoom calls. When I'm looking at 30 people, I have accountability. When I say I'll be there at 8:00 and I'm getting texts at 8:02 saying, where are you? That's extreme accountability. So if you want extreme accountability, lean into it and have people that are holding you accountable. So I love it. Great call. Appreciate it, Don. Tom, thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Patrick.
That's awesome. Randy, just kind of tying on a little bit, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Chris for like the last 10 years plus, and his partner in San Diego, at least at that time, for a long time, was Monica Reynolds. And Monica Reynolds came out with The Perfect Assistant way before there were any of these, playbooks and different pieces. And when you look at how they built San Diego, and the trajectory that both of them as partners went on, Chris went on to become CEO of KW, right? And then be CEO of multiple companies after that. Monica went on to be the CEO of the MAPS Coaching, and then multiple companies after that. And so one of the things that I think in my head is, who's my Monica? Who's your Monica? Who's the person that's on similar trajectory that you're going to push each other to those types of levels? And it started in San Diego building a real estate team. And both of them have been in this game a long time. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with everyone, is that question, who's your Monica? Because I don't know that this would have been possible for Chris if he didn't have Monica right there, and for both of them to lean on each other.
Yeah, for sure. Or certainly wouldn't have been able to step up to the CEO role at KW with this team and have that run successfully. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, who can you raise up into an opportunity? Gary Keller would always tell us that, our ability to develop as a leader is based on our ability to attract and retain talent. That being said, you've got to ensure that you always keep the opportunity slightly ahead of the talent. Otherwise, they're going to find the opportunity elsewhere, right? And so being able to, that's also, gives you scale, right? By succeeding through other people. But the thing that I would want to leave with you guys today is you've got to get a hold of, or get a handle on why you're doing this. There's that will often give you the impetus to then show up every day, right? It's like Tom was saying, remember tomorrow, right? So remember why you're choosing to do what you're doing, and so that you'll show up today because you want tomorrow to have what you want to have, right? So what's your why? Certainly write it down. I will tell you, it was interesting on Monday, this week. I had a nice weekend and I was feeling a lot of anxiety. And I thought, wow, geez, this is, Mondays in real estate can be kind of chaotic, but I was feeling an unusual amount of anxiety. And so I just decided, you know what? Lots of great things are happening in my life. I'm just going to go back to doing a daily gratitude list. And I have. And last night I was reviewing the list again and I'm like, wow, you know what? We got some good stuff going on here. So, if you're feeling some anxiety, don't forget about your blessings. Don't forget about why you're doing what you're doing. And if you need an accountability partner, like Tom has, let us know. We'll connect you with somebody that is like kind, doing business in a similar way. Ideally, maybe one step ahead of you so that they could give you some guidance. So anything you guys need, we're here. We appreciate you showing up and go make it happen.
Okay, y'all. See you next week. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.